Welcome to Sovereign Mamas, the podcast sanctuary for visionary women who are building lives, businesses, and legacies in alignment with their feminine power. I'm your host, Julia Jerg, intuitive business coach, mama of two, and systems strategist for solo-led entrepreneurs. Here, we honor both your sacred role as a mama and your wild vision as a changemaker. Expect soul-aligned strategy, raw storytelling, behind the scenes, and powerful conversations that support you in scaling your business without sacrifice. If you're done choosing between success and sovereignty, you're home. Let's begin. Welcome back to the Sovereign Mamas podcast. And as a little reminder, this is always your time to just simply sit back, relax, and enjoy the connection across the globe with other women who are in the same, who might be a step ahead, who might tell their story and you relate to some of it, all of it, none of it, but it all means just the same, that we are experiencing motherhood, business, and life in general in a very similar way. And I always find this so refreshing. I find it simply reassuring that we're not alone in this. And so today I'm joined by the beautiful Erin. I'm so thrilled we finally make this happen. For sure, we had a few attempts to meet, and yeah, it's so good to see you and to have you here, Erin. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. Erin, you have quite a story to tell. And I mean it in the best possible way, because I feel when I read your bio and your description, and I let you share this in your own words, but I feel that you have, you know, exactly gone through things that a lot of people might then take as an excuse to lean back and say, I'm just gonna choose the easy way, but you are actually choosing the opposite and help other women now also to live an empowered life, to create businesses and say, no, 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 there is a way to do things and especially business, and you have the life-friendly business approach created.
Yes.
I'm really excited to dive into this, but maybe before we talk business, share a little bit about yourself, where you're from, how many children you have, and yeah, what called you to be on the podcast here.
So I live in Bournemouth, which is in the southwest of the UK. And originally I actually lived in London. So my kind of story starts out working in TV there. And I'll talk a little bit about that. But now living in Bournemouth by the seaside, both myself and my husband are self-employed. So we've made a really conscious decision to create life-friendly businesses for both of us. And my boys are now 17 and 13. And my first son was 6 months old when I started running my own business. So I definitely do feel, and I've really been feeling it in the last few months, that, we're starting to come out that other side now where the kids are getting older and, my son's going to be leaving home and going off to university. And the fact is that my need for a life-friendly business has never changed, and it's only got stronger really as the kids have got older, which people might find surprising because we think it's just about when they're babies, but it's really not. And I'm really enjoying this season of life. But yes, I've run 5 businesses while my kids have been growing up, and now they're getting older and being more independent, and I feel like I'm entering another new chapter in my life.
Mhm. Wow. Yes, and I mean, I'm still in the beginning. My boys are 6 and 8, but I keep hearing that, and this is one of the wisdoms that we all know, right? The kids are little, but then the challenges grow with them. And
Yeah.
so when they were little, and you said you started running your business when The first one was 6 months old. What made you change from a thriving TV career then to in exactly that moment to building a
Yeah, so
business?
yeah, and it was strange, really, and I think basically it was a catalyst for me because I loved working in TV, and I had always wanted to work in TV, and I did all this work experience in radio as a teenager. I did a degree in media, went straight into a job in TV, and I loved it, but it was all consuming. And it
Mhm.
was basically like, oh, at the drop of the hat, you had to stay late because a crew were going out the next day and stuff needed doing. And that's okay. We get a taxi home and we can order pizza. But when you have kids, that's not okay. And it's very stressful. Um, but I was 29 when I had my first son, and it just did not go to plan. I thought I would be a real earth mother. And I ended up with an emergency C-section, and which obviously is always really traumatic. And then my milk didn't come in and I couldn't breastfeed. And I was completely sideswiped. Like it was not the experience that I thought that I would have. And actually he didn't sleep. He didn't sleep through the night till he was 3.5 years old. But he would also wake up every 2 hours screaming. So, like, my nervous system was all over the place. But I think, my plan was to be a real Earth mother, and I was going to take a year off on maternity leave and, absolutely love every minute of it. And I was an anxious wreck. And within a few months, I started thinking I wanted something for myself, and then I was thinking, how on earth am I going to go back to my career? Because I could just, I changed. I know I'd been through this massive change in my life, um and it was at that point that I was kind of thinking about my options. And then it was one of those really serendipity moments where someone told me about this jewelry where you could get your child's fingerprints in silver. And they were just telling me about it, like, oh, look, this is a really nice thing they've got at the baby show in Earl's Court in London. And I went on the website and it came up and it said franchise opportunity available in your area. And I thought, what's that? What does that mean? Like, and I basically just, it was, yeah, I just started exploring what a franchise was, what that meant. I went and bought the jewelry. I, sussed it all out. And then I was thinking, do I just go back to TV? And I spoke to my employer and they said, if you want to come back now, we're talking redundancy. And really crazily, the figure that I got for redundancy was exactly the same as the franchise investment. So something was working, something was aligned there. So yeah, I bought this franchise, and I have to say, my friends and family thought I was mad because they were like, "Why would you leave TV?" I loved being that person. When you met people out in a bar and they'd say, "What do you do?" and I'd say, "I work in TV," their eyes would light up, and like that defined me. And then there I am choosing to sell and make jewelry from my kitchen table. And I was suddenly this like new anxious mum. And yeah, I mean, it was such a whirlwind of my own identity completely in flux. And I can't tell you why I was drawn to it. But what I can say is it opened up a whole new world of business for me, and it has changed my life. And I loved my time in TV. I was in TV for 9 years, but I've been doing this for 17 years now, and I love it.
Amazing. But so hang on, is this still one of your businesses? Is this still
No,
something?
so I
No.
sold the jewelry business after 5 years.
Okay.
But while I was running the jewelry business, I met another mum who had left the corporate world and set up her own business. And we set up a network called Ealing Mums in Business, which was in West London, where I lived. And then I set up a third business, which was called Pitter Patter, the Hub for Bubs, which were venues for baby and toddler classes. So it was all the same ideal client. It was all about mums, and obviously they all, fed into each other really nicely. But then we had a massive curveball because so when Pitter Patter was about 3 years old, and I had a 2 year old as well by then, a 2 year old and a 6, 7 year old. We were starting to wonder whether we should leave London, leave the rat race, have a slower pace of life. And we were looking to move to Bournemouth, where my mum lives, down by the sea. And then my husband got offered a job in Abu Dhabi in the Middle East.
Okay.
And it was one of those, and again, one of those moments that came out, and we thought, well, we're already planning to move. So why don't we just go
Why not?
7,000 miles away? Um, so, yeah, we moved out there to Abu Dhabi, and I have to say it was one of the hardest things we've ever done. I've got no regrets because we would have always wondered, but it didn't suit us. There were lots of things that we found very difficult, but that is where I set up this business because all my businesses back in London had been about in-person community, and
Mm.
suddenly I was on my own and in a place where they didn't really have women in business. That wasn't really, it was hard enough to just have any kind of respect as a woman. So that's when I started learning about digital marketing, and that's when I set up what is now Life Friendly Business.
Oh, wow. But do you also find that sometimes you just have to put your feet on the ground and really experience? Because, you could have, in theory, played through how Abu Dhabi might play out for you as a family, but then only going there and feeling it and then experience it gives you the right information. And then knowing, is it for us or not? And so you did a year, and so what do you think? What was the most challenging side of living in such a, let's put it this way, unique country?
Yeah. And it's really interesting you said about putting your feet on the ground, because one thing I say to people when I'm talking about it is I never felt grounded. I
Mm,
never had that feeling at the end of the day where you sit on the sofa and you go, oh, like, and you're home and you're safe. I
mm,
never felt safe. I had that horrible tight feeling in my stomach the whole time we were there. Um, there was, and this is the thing, yeah, the picture that, and I know there are lots of expats who are very happy there.
mm,
And so, you hear all these stories and you think, wow, life's going to be amazing there. There's all these like 6-star hotels, and, the lifestyle and like the pay's supposed to be better over there. The culture we found very, very hard. And, we would hear stories about, my husband was a manager, and they were saying you have to carry enough cash in the apartment to fly out the country. If he gets into any trouble, he could just be thrown into jail, and they would freeze your bank accounts, and you'd have to just get out the country. So, you're hearing things like this, and you're like, what?
mm,
And someone said, and it's so true, because everyone there is on a visa, because that's, when you're an expat. And they said it's like living on the edge of a fence post. You can't grow roots because everyone is only temporary, and at any point they could have their visa revoked. But I think the big thing that I've taken from that experience is about how we measure our success,
mm,
because we are so taught, that success is about money, success is about, that feeling of wealth, and about being somewhere with palm trees and blue skies. And, life is perfect when life's like that. And I was not happy in that environment. And so much so that I would be messaging my friends back home, and I got really quite depressed. And they were just coming back to me saying, "Oh, but your photos look amazing." And I'm like, "No, but I'm really worried about my mental health." And they could not separate that vision of paradise with the reality that I was facing. And I thought, wow, this is really screwed up.
It's so funny that you say that because I obviously have been. I don't know if you know that about me, but I've been living in postcard places since 2011, and I kept, and I've gone through like life, right? And I've gone through conversations and also with close friends and family, and they keep wondering, how is it possible to be sick in the tropics? Isn't there always sunshine and warmth? Why do you have a cold? Why is it hard to live there? Like, why do you have this challenge going on? And I'm like, wow, because you still have to make life happen, and no matter where you are, it's about the things, right? To provide for your children, to set up a rhythm, a routine, something that creates safety within your family, within your own nervous system. And if there is the outside world, yes. I mean, in paradise, it doesn't mean that everything is then easy, right? It's
Yeah.
interesting how the outside perspective sometimes then so and then it influenced you. How did you feel disconnected and lost, and how did you then change and come back to yourself?
Yeah, I did feel really disconnected and confused because I thought, well, I should be really happy. Why are we not happy? Why everyone else seems happy, but I kind of feel, like, with all due respect, a lot of people were living with blinkers on.
Hmm.
And that's fine. And that ignorance is bliss in a lot of ways. And that, I need to be careful with what I'm saying. But this it I felt like I should be happy there because that's what everyone tells you should make you happy.
Hmm.
And so it was a really confusing time. We thought when we went out there, we thought, well, it's fine, we'll go. And if we don't like it, we'll just come home. But of course, it's not that easy to
It's
just
not that
come
easy.
home, especially when there's a contract involved and all those things. But, honestly, for me, like recognizing as well how much I love the seasons and the
Hmm.
change in the weather. It's like Groundhog Day, isn't it? Like blue skies, palm trees. Don't get me wrong, it's beautiful, but I also love the seasons, the moodiness, the stormy days, the cold, wet days, and then the contrast and all those things. It's made me appreciate so much more. Um, but yeah, you could never know that until you've actually done it.
Yeah.
Until you've lived that.
Yeah, it's so true. You learn so much when you're outside of what is your home or the normal that you had experienced until then you leave. And yes, like there's the saying for a reason that when you go out and travel the world, you actually discover not only places and meet people, but also you meet yourself, right? And this is where you get to know yourself a lot. I don't know if you a lot better, but there's more opportunity to see, oh, what is actually my preference, and in the contrast that is out there, you'll know what you like and what not.
Yeah,
It's
for
so,
sure.
yeah, okay, interesting. And so now you live by the ocean in the south of the UK, and you've created this online business, but are you still doing in-person events or gatherings? That's
Yeah,
now
so
back.
so it was very much all online, and
Mhm.
then I started doing an annual event, and then we went into lockdown, and had the pandemic, and there was just such a feeling that people really wanted to get back to in person, and I am very gregarious. I love being in person, but I also find it very draining is a negative word. I don't mean draining. It takes up a lot of energy and also especially around the COVID times, that anxiety of, but hang on, what if I get ill, or what if one of the kids get ill and
Yeah.
I can't host the event. So it's taken time to kind of gradually build that up. But now I basically have an annual event and I do quarterly events, and that feels like a really nice balance
Mhm.
of being able to, get to people. And now I do mentoring in person as well if people live locally to here. And I do love it. But I
Yeah.
also love the flexibility that an online business brings and being able to, pick up my laptop and I go and work in a lovely cafe overlooking the sea. And, for me, that freedom and that flexibility is what brings me joy in my business.
Nice, nice. Great. And so now, what are you working on right now, or what's the vision for the next 4 years? 4 years? Did I say four? The next,
4 years.
I don't know why four
Now
came out. Yes, tell me four.
I need to think 4 years. So I have been running this business now for 10 years. So it's been 10 years since we came home to and moved to Bournemouth. And this year I published my second book, which is called How to Build a Life-Friendly Business. And it's basically the framework for building a life-friendly business that I've through my own experience and then working with clients and realizing that, they were also resonating with these steps. And it feels really, really good to have that book out in the world now. And, I'm getting such great feedback from people. And I think for a long time, it's quite hard to work out what your own messaging is because there's so much you want to say and there's so many different things that you can talk about. And I think what's happened over the last couple of years is that I've really refined those core messages. And I can see from when I'm doing in-person stuff as well, you can see when something's landing.
Hmm.
Um, and that's obviously so satisfying. So, for me now it's about just, really kind of honing in and, they talk about niching. I'm kind of niching even further in now in the things that I want to talk about. So it's a really exciting time. And yeah, I'm always looking at innovating in my business and tweaking things and evolving as times change.
Amazing. Yeah, congratulations on the book. That's so good.
Thank
So
you.
cool. And if you, I don't know if you want to spoil it, but if you could like give our listeners like what is your formula? What are some steps without giving away the whole formula? They have to obviously read the book for that or get in touch with you. But what is
So
your formula for?
so basically, this book challenges the hustle heavy narratives
Hmm.
that we get, given, which just don't work for a lot of women, especially women who are bringing up children. They're caring, we're at this point where we're either caring for our children or we're caring for our parents. That's like I think there's a statistic here that 90% of female entrepreneurs have this kind of caring responsibility, which is, creating a barrier for entrepreneurship. So, instead of pretending that it's not there and just trying to juggle along with everything, I think we need to recognize our own capacity. And this is one of my kind of bugbears is that a lot of the business advice out there assumes unlimited time and energy. And what that means is that, I am meeting women over and over again who are incredibly capable, and yet they feel like they're failing. And
Hmm.
they feel like they're failing because this model wasn't designed for them.
Hmm.
And so, in my mind, this is all about us choosing to work differently, and, recognizing that there are, we want to be a successful businesswoman and we want to be a present parent and we want to be a present daughter for our, and it doesn't make us any less ambitious.
Hmm.
And so this book really is a lot of reassurance and also practical tips on, all the different processes. So the framework is like a process really that you go through. And it's about owning your role as the leader of your business. So there's a lot about self-leadership in there because, we have to take the driver's seat in our business. Um, and the next one is about making sure that we are aligned with our business and the way that we want to do things, because all too often I meet people, and I know I've done it myself, you follow other people's
Mm.
strategies because they say, "Oh, look, I've made all this money by doing this. And so all you need to do is do X, Y, Z. And then you do it and it feels icky and, it doesn't work for you because, actually you're a different person and your zone of genius is different to theirs. So own, align, and then simplify because we do like to make things overly complicated. And when you have limited time, we can't be doing that. And then shine is all about the visibility part of things because I love talking about this because, I've been on my own journey with having to really build my own confidence. I used to be terrified of public speaking.
Oh.
I would go bright red, my hands would shake, they'd sweat. The idea that anyone would ask a question, like, what if I don't know the answer, So, and it's so different when you're running your own business because like when you're like behind a corporate logo, it's completely different. Suddenly there you are selling yourself and it's really uncomfortable. And so the more we can talk about that and kind of recognize that, the more I think we can overcome those mindset gremlins. And then number five is about evolving and, recognizing that as your season of life changes as well, the way that you're going to grow as a person, but also your business is going to change and need to change. But also with everything around us, the whole world is changing constantly. And so we have to keep moving, we have to keep learning, and we have to keep adapting to the things around us. So yeah, it's I like to think it's a very reassuring and compassionate guide for women. And the feedback so far has just been brilliant. And it's a short read as well, because I'm no good at reading long books. Like we don't have time. So
No.
you can read it within like 2 hours. And actually that's gone down really well because people have said to me, like, I've read it in an afternoon and I've got a new plan by the next day.
Oh,
So I'm
wow.
really
Cool.
glad. I'm really glad that because that's another thing. That's about like listening to your gut. So many people would be like, "Well, I've got to write a book that's 80,000 words because that's how long a book is." No, you don't.
No.
You don't. So, yeah, it's yeah.
I love this so much. I love this, Erin. And yeah, well, first of congratulations on trusting yourself, on doing it your way. This is one of my favorite slogans and ways of being and also working with my clients. I always say it's not working for you just because it works for someone else. And so I guess this comes with the own experience. Like you've obviously tested it yourself, and then can now speak from experience. And yes, so good. I feel you touched on so many great things, and I know the listeners can take away whatever resonates with them the most. But I do resonate with the fact that, especially if you are still uh, is are mothers still your audience, your main
Yeah,
primary?
so yeah, primary, yeah. So I do, it's interesting because I do have more and more women coming to me who don't have children, but they
Mhm.
really resonate with the life-friendly approach because they're working around health issues,
Right.
limited energy and also caring for other people.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter. Yeah, you don't have to be in the thickest of early motherhood to navigate seasons that are challenging. And so it always comes in handy when your business is actually set up so that you can have the life that you're desiring. And so amazing. Yeah. This is is it on Amazon available?
It's yes, it should, and now it should be on like Barnes and Noble online and Waterstones online, and yeah, fingers crossed that's worked.
Cool. So exciting, so exciting. Yeah. I know how it is. We just published our first Sovereign Mamas book. So
Yeah,
I
congratulations to
yeah,
you.
thank you so much. And it's always nerve-wracking at the end to have everything the right way. But then once it's out, it's a great feeling, right?
It is, but I think there is a real feeling of vulnerability. Like,
Yeah.
when you're putting, because it's like something you've created and it's your ideas and it's your thoughts. And yeah, I like definitely had that wobble both times. But then the excitement, then when you start getting the feedback from people, you can kind of relax and think, okay, good. People are taking it in the way that wanted them to take it. But
Right.
it's an amazing thing to do, and for people to be able to consume,
Mm.
at their own pace.
Yes, yes, fantastic. Okay. What would you say is something like if you look back to and could summarize your life, if that's even possible, but if you look back and you say, you've done different things, exciting career, you had your children, built businesses, made some moves, even across to different countries. And what would you say has always been your anchor or something where could lean on and actually then move forward and be the person or become the person that you are today?
That's a very good question.
Thank you.
I think actually that I think my resilience um, was really challenged and then hardened by
Mhm.
the Abu Dhabi experience, which has really benefited me now
Mhm.
because yeah, I'm a lot more resilient. I also feel like I have a lot more belief in myself. And my own capability, my own ability. And I really went into a lot of personal development work after that, or that it kind of all started around that time. And that's really set me on a great path. So, I feel like I'm in the best place that I've ever been. And, I'm 46 now, and it feels like a great place to be because, I've got more confidence and belief in myself, and I care a little bit less each day what other people think.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
I obviously there are times when you think I wish I'd got to this point sooner, but everything I've been through, every journey, every chapter of my life has led me to where I am today. So, yeah, I wouldn't change it.
Perfect. Amazing. Yes. Well, I feel it's a complete circle, and I feel like you are in a yeah at a point where maybe then a new chapter begins now, and it is possible to go to this next I don't know, yeah, next level of evolution and exploring. And it's a great place to be in. That's definitely it.
Yeah.
Sounds like it.
Thank you
Amazing.
so much.
No, thank you. This is, I love it. I love it so much. And if the listeners want to reach out, they can obviously do through all the links in the show notes and join your maybe live events. When is the next one coming up? Is there anything that
So
they?
I've actually got my annual event this March, so
Oh,
next week. But
wow.
I do have a podcast as well, the Life Friendly Business Podcast.
There we go. Here, that's another
Yeah.
one to connect. Amazing. Oh, good. Amazing. Okay, thank you so much, Erin. I loved our conversation, and
Oh,
I hope everyone is enjoying it as well. And for the listeners, I mean, it's I love these conversations because they always bring up something, that your soul needs to listen to or that you are able to listen to today. And so when you hear someone talk about a cycle, and I feel like you have a completed in your story, you have like a completed sense of story. It's not like you're currently building something or you're currently in a transition phase. And just know that that's also possible for you. And that is something that just is part of life. And everyone, yeah, if you can anchor in that feeling that Erin brought to the show today, that be just happy and grateful for the stage you're in and the step you're in, and trust that it's part of your journey. So thank you so much for listening. And again, thank you, Erin.
thank you so much.